Hello and welcome back to another episode of Media Munchers. I'm Mathian.
And I'm Adrian.
And today we got a little bit of news to follow up on. It's really just one thing. And then we're going to get right into the Kingsman review. But first, we have a Muncher Minute. Let's take it away. You going first today?
Sure, yeah.
Let's hear it.
So I just wanted to bring up the Batman that's coming out this weekend.
It is.
And we got our tickets for Friday.
Hell yeah, we did.
And
10 p.m.?
Yeah, 10 p.m.
We'll be there.
We're gonna see it.
Hopefully.
And yeah, I'm just hyped about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to most?
Well, it's a 3-hour movie, and there's a
God.
post-credit scene apparently.
Oh my God.
So it's a lot. It's a lot of content.
Yeah, it's a lot of media to munch on.
Yeah. I'm just curious, because Matt Reeves wants to build up the world of Batman,
Right.
and I'm curious, like, what is that going to look like through his vision?
I wonder if they're going to make I suppose it depends on how this one's going to do, but something tells me it's going to do quite well.
Yeah.
And do you think they're going to do like an initial trilogy and then like spin-offs from that? Or do you think they're going to try and go for like a 6?
Well, I know they have the HBO Max spinoffs that they're already planning on doing.
Sure.
In terms of like Batman, I'm sure they'll probably do like a trilogy or
Probably.
at least 1 or 2 sequels.
Jeez Louise. Batman.
Yeah.
This is the most important question. Are they going to like keep that universe separate, or are they going to like blend it in?
I would hope that they eventually bring in like Superman and all the other superheroes.
Yeah.
But
do you think it's going to be
I
ours?
don't know how they will work currently
Yeah.
with
Everything.
with the Zack Snyder verse and all that.
That's such a weird gray area. Let's see if Warner Brothers figures it out. My Muncher Minute, according to renofellow.org, while bears are hibernating, they do not urinate. I was reading on some stuff and I came across this. I'm like, how does that make sense? Like, you got to use the bathroom, right? Wrong.
Yeah.
So apparently, their bodies convert waste into protein. So bears hibernate in spans of a few weeks to several months, as most of us know, depending on the species, the weather, and available food stores. During that time period, their metabolism drops to about a third of normal. Now, there's a shift away from protein and carbohydrate metabolism towards fat breakdown. You're thinking, oh, ketosis, maybe? No, they don't do that. A small amount of urine, about 100 milliliters, is produced, and the water and nitrogenous breakdown products are reabsorbed through the bladder. So how does this happen? We don't know. But we do know that urea, or piss, is degraded, again, by an unknown mechanism. One theory is that there's a urease-producing bacteria in the gut to aid this breakdown, and nitrogen is also thought to be shunted towards protein anabolism. But the amazing result, rather, is that the blood from hibernating bears does not contain an elevated level of urea, uric acid, amino acids, or ammonia. They replenish the water loss via respiration through liposis, where water is an end product. So despite all of this, again, they do not go into ketosis. We still don't know why. So we know they do this, but we don't know why they do this. And I'm just like, that would be so convenient. If I could just not pee for like a week and I could just recycle all of my water, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was a really interesting thing. And I was like, I wish we knew more about this. We need to study bears.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep, that's my Muncher.
I never even thought about them
using the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
thought about
assume
how
that they
that
just
works,
sleep for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But their bodies still have to do stuff. They still have to like break down some sort of energy. They still need to stay alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's really convenient. I'm just jealous of bears. This is the moral of this story. And we don't have news, but I will follow up on the Louis C.K. stuff from last week. His flight was canceled, so no show. We hope for peace. Putin's a madman, but yeah, just keep it moving there. But yeah, I mean, obviously, when a whole country's getting invaded, can't really do a comedy show. I don't know what they were thinking there.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
that's that. We're going to take a small break, and when we get back, we're going to get into the Kingsman review. We are back with our review of the Kingsman, singular. So, the little background for this is, here's the synopsis first. In the early years of the 20th century, the Kingsman Agency is formed to stand against a cabal plotting a war to wipe out millions. So my initial thoughts were that I didn't have a strong desire to know how the Kingsman was formed. I thought the mystery was fine. I wasn't really asking for this film.
Yeah.
But I was interested in watching this only because Matthew Vaughn was returning to write partially and direct. So I was like, well, I like his style. I like how he rolls. So like, hopefully it's decent. And going into this, I heard a couple of negative things, and I was just like, well, let's see. Let me form my own opinion. I mean, things that stood out, how this movie, though very long, which was a dislike of mine, it also kind of felt like 3 movies in one. I told you that after watching.
Yeah.
Even setting up an immediate sequel, it still works if it's never granted the sequel, but this movie does a little too much at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting. Another thing that stood out was all the small details about how the Kingsmen came to be. All this, the little origin stories were like sprinkled in. Matter maketh man, and all that stuff. All the little sayings and
the
stuff they have.
hidden like details.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oxford's not
A lot
rogues.
of callbacks.
I
Or
didn't
call forwards, I guess.
call for it. Yeah, the prequel sequel. That's what you get with this.
Yeah.
Also, the conversation between adult Conrad and Orlando regarding Icarus to set up Conrad's later obsession with joining the war and how he dies was a nice little writing touch at the start.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things I caught the second watch around. But again, back with the Oxfords, not rogues, they're literally Oxfords. Like I thought it was about shoes in the OG.
Oh yeah,
And the OG Kingsman. No,
well,
it's
yeah,
literally
yeah.
it's their
It's
surname.
both, but it's like a
Yeah, it is, but it's like a double entendre.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like literally they are Oxfords. So I was like, okay, cool, I guess.
Their last name, right?
It is their last name, yeah, exactly. Going into my likes, I like the self-awareness of how ruthless the English were to everyone else historically. I like how they acknowledge all that, and so they don't play like they're above it. I love how we get to see a sped up like speed run of World War I through the lens of this historical like fictional historical private spy group. I thought that was cool. Like how wouldn't it be cool if that's really what it was, just all this crazy master manipulation in the background. Like, I mean, I don't think that's true, but it would be. It's a nice premise for a movie. I'm saying.
Right.
The messages of those being born into privilege and leading by example, setting up the themes of the film. But that also ties into my dislikes, though. One thing that I noticed was that there's like too many British one-liners about honor and like being a gentleman and all that.
There was a lot of like
grandstanding. It felt like.
Yeah,
it was
like
weird.
like that was the right like that was the whole message of the film was to be a better man, you gotta like have manners, you gotta like represent yourself well and represent your country.
Yeah, and we'll get into that later too. But there's a whole lot of talk about like the meaning of war and all that, and like the debate around that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like reputation is what people think of you. Character is what you are. I'm like, nice quote, but yeah, keep it moving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to get lectured at. So I don't know.
Yeah. The pace was very like slow. It's like slow burning for the most part,
but also really fast moving, which was weird.
Yeah,
it managed to do both. It's like it was slow in many of the talking parts, but then there was a lot just happening. Like we were speeding through plot and like events and like all that stuff too.
There's a lot of locations too.
So many locations. Again, with the 3 movies in one, like it's like this almost could have been a miniseries. Not that they would ever do that, but like it would have been like it would have allowed more time, which is another gripe of mine, for smaller characters to play into it more.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. You have any likes you wanna spit at me real quick? Not, I'm gonna keep it rolling.
I felt like the action, although it was lacking compared to the first Kingsman, it was still at times interesting. Like the shot that they had in the Orlando versus Morden scene.
Sure. Like with the swords?
Yeah, with the swords.
Oh my god,
and
that's one of my likes.
Like they use the viewpoint of the sword.
The first person view of the sword, right?
Yeah.
And like the clings and the I liked seeing all like the moves and the counters and the parries and all that. That was great. Going into the cinematography, every fight scene to me was a visual candy store. Like, I mean, the fight choreo, the shots again with the swords, the use of FPV and slow-mo were great. The Kashmir fight at the embassy was tight too. The distraction with the Kashmir in the ring and the knife coming at him.
Yeah.
The tension was high. I mean, the tension was crazy high in the nighttime trench scene. I really love that hand-to-hand scene, even though it was kind of dark, obviously.
Yeah.
I loved all of that. All the hand-to-hand and close combat stuff was like
the Rasputin fight.
Oh my god, the Rasputin fight. Don't get me started on Rasputin, man. He was dancing while fighting. That was just beautiful.
He's like one of the musketeers or something.
Yeah. I was never bored of any of the close contact fights, and like Matthew Vaughn's style is always a pleasure. I mean, we saw that with the church scene in the original Kingsman movie. I mean, just all of that was great. Those are some strengths for sure. In this film, all of that was fantastic to me.
I think though, to that point, it was very dulled in comparison.
I think it has to do with the time period, though. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but I feel like in bringing it to that like time period, like it sort of, at least like I think it had to do more with the writing than with the time period.
Maybe actually.
Yeah.
So you're saying dull in that, like, in what way? Not the actual fighting, or just the meaning of it?
I think the script. I think the script probably had the most doing to make it as slow to process as it was.
Right. I see where you're coming from. It was co-written by Matthew Vaughn and someone else. And maybe, I don't know what the percentage was, but maybe that had something to do with how slow it could be, because it was equal parts like trying to move a story forward and set everything up in action, but also like like really slow and like kind of like this is our motto and this is our way and like just kind of like really reveling in that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what you mean. Like when it was dull, it was dull. I understand.
Yeah, they were like long conversations about like how to you were saying, but
how to act and all that.
Yeah, but they could have been a lot shorter.
Yeah. I understand. That's that again. The pacing in that regard wasn't strong, but outrageous as it was, I liked how Conrad's run through no man's land to bring back the double agent intent was an attempt to save them both. Because like for the majority of the movie, I'm like, yeah, he's a good kid, and he's so desperately trying to go to war, and it almost takes too long. And I didn't realize this until the second watch, with Morton being the double agent or whatever.
Oh yeah,
he almost got killed immediately, and like his dad actually saved him from going on that trip to Russia the first time with that other guy. Man, what is his name? Kitchener. It's a good thing Orlando pulled out Conrad out of going to Russia with Morton and Kitchener, because he ended up sending that torpedo to Kitchener's vessel after he went out to get some air, and so they would have both been dead right then and there.
Yeah.
So it took forever, but we finally got to that, and that's another point I liked, is that the movie didn't like build up and glorify war as it did that as much as it tore it down. You know what I mean? It was like it's not good. You want this, you think you want this glory, but you don't. It's not honorable to die for your country and all that. I liked all of that, the back and forth between Kitchener and Orlando regarding the theory of war. Speaking, it was good. It was really prevalent. Again, I come back to Rasputin. He was fantastic. Seriously, that was the most fun character. I had the most fun watching him. His over the top portrayal, and he stole every scene he was in. I mean, the dance fighting, going back to that, was top tier, my guy. It was fantastic. And it was what was crazy is how my mom was like, "Yep, that's real. Like he really did all that. He was this crazy freaking being.
Right, how he was immune to poison.
To poison, and like you just wouldn't die. It took like he survived multiple like assassination attempts. That was crazy. I like that the three cousins became leaders of the world, like the world leaders, like of Germany and then Britain and Russia. And I thought that it was neat that the cabal of villains were also their right hands in most of them's case, and they helped manipulate global events and stuff like that. But this also leads me to a dislike that I was mentioning earlier about how the supporting characters feel wasted because of the sheer scope of the film. Like, for example, Daniel Bruhl, I think I said his name right, as Eric. Yeah, he's the right hand to Kaiser, right? But more screen time like could have shown why these little secondary villains wanted to do what they did and betray their people, or just follow like the Scottish madman, if you will.
Right. Yeah, I feel like they added like his character
at the last minute
for like sequels.
Right.
Rather than
that's what it felt like too.
Really making them a character of their own in this movie.
And on that same note, they feel like they wasted the Aaron Taylor Johnson Archie Reed character as well, because he's made for sequels. Like he played his little part here, and they set him up at the end in the little cabinet of the Kingsmen, and they're made for sequels. So I guess he had after replacing Conrad, he had little to do with everything. And then another touch that reminded me watching this, also Tom Hollander played King George, Kaiser Wilhelm, and Tsar Nicholas. I didn't notice that, obviously, the first time I watched it. Like, I was like, they seem similar.
For me, it threw me off because I thought they were all kind of the same character, or at least a couple of them. So upon like my second viewing, it got a little clearer as to who each of them were.
Yeah. And they try to make them distinct, like with the German one having like a deformity and like all that stuff. But
and then one having like a big beard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that was just to save money. But anyway, another dislike I have was the kiss from Polly to Orlando. That was so random. Like when he's at his lowest after his son's dead.
Kind of was, right?
And I was like, I get how they could possibly grow to like or even love each other, working with each other so closely. But
they didn't expand on their relationship much
at all. Aside from like an awkward attempt at a hug earlier in the film when they were happy about something, there just was no setup for that moment. It felt empty to me. I was like, okay, cool, I guess.
Yeah.
It was just weird. What else you got for me, Big Apple?
Even with the villain, there wasn't a whole lot of development as to how that was like a betrayal. Like he was what was he?
He was just he didn't even have a personal vendetta against the Duke.
But he was some kind of official amongst the allies.
Yeah, he was the Morton. He was Kitchener's right hand. He was Morton. He was like some sort of like army leader.
But aside from that, like that was the only information we got. We didn't get any
and that's
interactions with him.
That's a gripe. I don't understand like why they were saving the big bad betrayal for the end. And it was very distracting, like not seeing his face the whole movie with like absolutely no setup. Like it just felt like it wasn't, the payoff wasn't there. His face is obscured. That was dumb. Even worse was his reason for doing so. Like, they should have shown at least a childhood version of him, like at the beginning, to parallel that the Conrad the Good Kids, whatever flashback. Maybe showing his mill being taken by the British, or giving a more personal connection. Like, what if, that's what Conrad's father Orlando did. Maybe that was one of the things he was guilty of. Not only doing atrocious stuff in Africa, but also but he said it goes back 700 years or whatever. They just did not build up his vendetta against the world or the British specifically or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of there. It wasn't strong. It wasn't strong. So that's one of the things I did not like. What else we got here? Dude, there was also just random cheesy British moments. Like when Orlando said he wouldn't let Morton fall, because but then it was Morton. He said that he's like, "You're not gonna let me fall. You're a pacifist, right?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just becoming the man my son would have been, right? Whatever." They call back to that, and then he cuts him down with the Victoria Cross, and he kisses it. And I'm like,
yeah,
what the fuck? Like, it's so cheesy. I love it. I don't though. I really don't. That was just weird. I don't know. Like, that's pretty much all I had to say. I think. Okay, no, that's not all I have to say. Another dislike at the very start. The knife training scene was stupid dangerous for no reason between Shola.
Oh yeah. And so they were marking themselves, right?
I think so, but they were like cutting.
It was like paint.
Oh, it was paint?
I think it was paint. Like,
oh, okay. I couldn't tell.
The one guy, he had the red paint. And
that's why he couldn't tell at first.
Yeah,
he was like,
so
you got me.
It kind of looked like blood.
It did. It would have been more obvious if these different color. I was like, that was kind of
like blue or something.
Then that doesn't even make me upset. What was stupider was the nanny shooting a live bullet at the knife.
To get out of his hand.
That was so dumb. And from that distance too, I'm like, you're great. You're supposed to be some sort of sharpshooter. That was so dumb and like, it was just so unnecessarily dangerous for no reason. And why is she strapped at work? What are you doing, nanny? Why are you strapped at work? Like, who are you trying to kill? Like, I don't understand. I don't know what she's defending.
And I think that's what threw me off. Is like from the very beginning, it didn't really have much of a association with the Kingsmen.
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't feel like a spy movie up until like maybe the latter half.
Yeah, like with the plane and all that. And we got to go infiltrate. I get what you're saying. Well, I mean, it is an origin story, so like I suppose that it's out of necessity. The only way it felt like a spy movie at the beginning was all the espionage amongst the maids and the house servants and all that stuff throughout the world. That's like the only seedlings that grew into what it was. So I understand why I didn't feel like it the whole way through.
Yeah.
But again, 3 movies in one. It's just like, what are we doing? Like, this is a lot to take in. It's a lot to do. So, there's small details I enjoyed, like spy gadgets, like cameras on the teapot lid, or mini recording device in another picture, messenger birds. Also, Polly could decipher the telegram before British intelligence could. All those small little things I enjoyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's about where it ends. In conclusion, it was a pretty mixed bag for me. When it was good, it was great. But then there was just like a lot of small things, like why is that in there, or like why did they choose to do that, or why didn't they build up the villain more? You know what I mean? Just small things that kind of just chipped away at otherwise great moments in a film that arguably no one asked for. You know what I mean? Like, not to be rude, but you know, like, I don't know. But hold on, there's also questions at the end. They even ask, but they don't answer. Like, how did Shola and Orlando get down from that mountain? They're like, how are we gonna get down from?
Oh right,
How? Does Polly know how to fly a plane? Is she gonna go up there and land?
He had such a hard time getting up there.
I know that was another dislike. I liked.
It was a little convoluted, but I understand they were trying to like play with the stakes of it.
The stakes and the spy angle, like that's where it felt more spy like.
Yeah.
But it took too long. And I get it.
Well, it was a little bit like back and forth. Like it was easy for him to climb up in between the two,
like the little
rock.
The Emperor's New Groove thing.
Yeah, the Emperor's New Groove reference.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, like, as soon as he gets on top, the mountain gives way.
Yeah, and I was like, give me a break with that.
And then he has to jump over the goats, and that was easy.
And then he Assassin's Creed's that. Yeah, like, that was no struggle. So they were playing fast and loose with the stakes.
Watching, like, Donkey Kong or something.
Yeah, it was weird. That was another weird part. And also, Adolf Hitler killed the Russian Tsar's family? Because they bring out that little reveal at the end, in the little post-credits or mid-credits or whatever. Right. I'm like, what? What is going on here? And they set him up for another sequel, and I'm like, this is interesting. But yeah, the biggest struggle was, like, to me, of the film, was that, again, it was long, overstuffed, and then fitting the origin story inside of a pre-established universe into its own unique narrative that it was trying to create. Like, that was a tall ask. And, like, they only kind of partially succeeded, I feel like. So, I don't know. 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. What do you think?
I'd say, like, a 5 out of 10.
Dang! Big A, you're less forgiving. You're less forgiving. It's okay, though. But that's about it, man. That's about my thoughts on The King's Man. Now, Do you want to see the Adolf Hitler sequel? Are you alright?
No, yeah, I don't really, I don't know where they could go with it.
I understand.
Yeah,
they're probably gonna have some over the top method as to like how he actually fictionally died. There's gonna be some Kingsman taking him out, probably.
Right.
Yeah, if they can make it 90 minutes and just all action,
if they could make it more of a spy movie, because I think that's what it was lacking.
Yeah.
Because the first one was like an homage to the James Bond movies.
Sure.
And it felt like that's what it was mostly lacking, was that kind of brash like energetic style.
Yeah, I hear you. Again, it goes back to that 3 movies thing. It was like a war movie for one part of it, and then it was a spy movie, and then it was like something in between, and like a whole bunch. It was like kind of like a murder mystery at one point. Not really, but kind of like with the who's the big bad and who's doing it. You know what I mean? So it was kind of over the place, but it is what it is. That's our review of The King's Man. Let us know if you liked it. If you didn't, if you agree or disagree, doesn't matter. For Media Munchers, I'm Mathian.
And I'm Adrian.
And we're gonna catch you next time.